Hi everybody, it's Doreen and welcome back to day 16 of Christmas cards with the Cricut. I've got another little simple card for you, so come on and join me and I'm going to show you how I made this card. Okay everybody, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the supplies so we can get started on day 16 of the series. So now, my card measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've taken and scored it in half to make it a 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. And this cardstock is some of the Michaels brand. It's the Recollections. And the other thing I've gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and inked my edges using the Tim Holtz Evergreen Bow. So now we can go ahead and add our top layer, and since I'm not adding any ribbon, we can go ahead and tape this down. So now this cardstock measures 5.25 by 4 inches, and this cardstock is from the DCWV paper pack that's called the Holiday Collection, the Christmas Stack. And there's 180 sheets in this paper pack. So now let's go ahead and add this to our card. So I'm going to pull out my ATG gun and we're going to get tape all along the edges. And then I'm going to get some tape down in the middle. So we're going to now go ahead and I'm going to open up my card and I'm going to add this layer to my card. And then I'm just going to go ahead and run my finger all the way around. And I've also gone ahead and inked the edges of this layer using the Festive Berries by Tim Holtz. So now what we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and add our next layer. So now this piece of cardstock is just some glitter paper that is from another DCWV paper stack. I'm sorry, this isn't from the DCWV. This is actually from the Hippie Chic cardstock, which is another DCWV. And I picked this up at, I believe, Big Lot. So it has some metallic papers as well as glitter paper and then plain cardstock inside the paper pack. So now I went ahead and cut this out on my Gypsy and using my Cricut, but you don't have to. You can use your paper trimmer. And I just used the George and Basic cartridge, and the handbook looks like this. And I just cut out a rectangle, and the measurements for that is, let's see, I had to remove the aspect ratio off of, which is right here, and then I made the width 3.25 or 3.75, and I made the width 2 inches. So I'm going to go to that cartridge real quick, and you hit the shift key and then your square, and it looks like this. So now you can pick out any, if you don't want to use your paper trimmer, you can find any cartridge that you own that it does have a square on it and do the exact same thing as far as the measurements. I know that the George and Basic cartridge is hard to find. It actually came with my Gypsy, the very first Gypsy that I got, which was the Baby Bug. So now I've got that layer, and I'm going to place that right there. I'm not going to tape anything down yet because I'm probably going to have this one pop up. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my next layer, and I think I'm going to have that one pop up and then just lay this one down flat. So I'm just right now laying everything down before I start doing any taping. So now this label here, I don't know if the camera will pick up what I did, but I used my Cricut pens, the glitter ones, to draw out "'Tis the Season." And the 'Tis the Season, it is from the Winter Frolic cartridge. And that cartridge looks like this. Here's the handbook. And it is on page 55, and it's the phrase, which looks like this. So now what I've gone ahead and done is, let's go to that particular cartridge and that key. So it's key number 28, and it looks like this. Oops, let me do that again. Looks like that. So I first went ahead, because I knew I wanted it to line up with inside my little label here, I first went ahead and placed my label on the mat, which is right here. And I'm going to blow this up and then bring it down so you can see it. So there's my label right there. And I knew that I needed to have the 'Tis the Season fit inside there. So I went ahead and added another mat. And the way you add another mat is there's a plus sign up here at the top. You just click that plus sign and it brings up another mat for you. So then once I had that mat, I then put my 'Tis the Season, I added it to the mat, like so. And then I went, without going back to the mat that has the label on it, I just hit the little eyeball that's up there in the corner. And what that does is that opens up the previous mat that you were on. So as you can see, that's hidden in the gray, and I've squeezed in the 'Tis the Season inside there. So now, as far as what I cut the 'Tis the Season at, because I knew I needed it to squeeze inside my label here, or I believe they're calling this a ticket. We'll go to that cartridge and see. Which, this is from the Fabulous Finds cartridge. And the handbook looks like this. And it is on page 82. And actually they're calling it a book plate. And I cut out the blackout of that. So now, as I was saying, I knew that I needed the 'Tis the Season to fit within that book plate, like so. So I just kept squeezing the 'Tis the Season until it fit in there. Now that ended up being, the width is 2.32 and the height is 1.15. And you will have to remove your aspect ratio to get this measurement. And I also put on the real dial size just so I could see what the actual size of that was. So now, once I've had that all laid out on my mat, I then took and went and used the Cricut pens and went ahead and drew this out. And then once it was drawn out, I then, rather than hit unload mat, I went back and hit return to design, and I went to my mat that has all of my other elements that I needed to cut, and I went ahead and cut. So I went back to this and just cut out everything else that I needed to cut. And for more actual on how the Cricut works, the Cricut pens work, I do have a tutorial out there that you can look at, and it shows you how I use the Cricut pens to make another card. So let's go ahead and move on, and we're going to add this to the top of here. But before I do this, I'm just going to go ahead and tape this down because I'm not going to have this pop up. I'm going to have this layer pop up. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to pull out my Tombow for this because it's such a small piece. And we're going to get tape all the way around. And then we'll get some tape in the middle. And then we're going to go ahead and add it to the card. And I'm just going to come up and line this up. And I'm going to place it right there. and then just press down. So now I am ready to go ahead and add my "'Tis the Season." And if I didn't say what I cut that at, let me go back, because I knew also that I needed to get that to fit with inside here. So let me look at that. Now that was cut, as I said before, it's from the Fabulous Finds cartridge, and they're calling it the book plate, page 82, and it looks like this. So let's go to what key that is on the Gypsy. So I'm going to bring up that cartridge, and that is key number 1, which looks like this. So now to cut this, I did choose, as I said before, the blackout feature. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to hit blackout and then key number 1. So my measurements are, the width is 3.70 and the height is 1.38. And that's only because I needed it to fit within that square. So I once again took off the aspect ratio and put on the real dial size. So now we're just going to line this up and place it here. And as I said before, I do want to pop this up. So I'm going to get out some dimensionals, and I'm going to put one in each corner as soon as I can find my dimensionals. With all these cards that I've been making, I do not want anyone to see what my craft room looks like. I have things everywhere. So I'm going to place one in each corner, and then we'll see if we need to have one in the middle. I don't think so. No, I think it'll be fine with just one in each corner. So let's go ahead and take off the tape backing, and then we can go ahead and add it to the card. And the other thing that I also did to my book plate, as they call it in the manual or the handbook, I went ahead, after I colored it with the Cricut pens, I went back and I took my Yasutomo watercolor paints and I colored in the "'Tis the Season." And then I took my iRock tool and my gems and I added just a little bling where the little holes were on the side. So let's go ahead and lay this down, and I'm going to place it right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my scallop and my reef. So I've gone ahead and cut out this scallop, and I've used this scallop before. This is from the Art Philosophy cartridge, and it is on page 31, and it's this scallop right here, and they're calling it Circle 2. So I went ahead and let's see what we cut that out at. That was cut out at 3 inches, and that was just regular. You don't have to remove or change your aspect ratio or worry about real dial size. It's exactly cut out at 3 inches. And then I also went ahead and inked my edges using the Festive Berries Timos Distress ink. So that's going to go right there. And now let's talk about my reef. So I decided to do the reef again, but this time rather than using the Martha Stewart punch as I used in the previous videos to do the reef and the Christmas tree, because I knew that also because I knew that punch is no longer available in the stores, and I believe the only way you can get it is through finding it on eBay. I decided to try doing a reef using one of my Cricut cartridges. So what I've gone ahead and done is I first needed to get a circle because I needed to get something to put my I guess you would call these branches around the circle. So I went ahead and use the Georgian Basic again, and I cut out one circle, or I placed one circle on my mat that measures 2 inches. And I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. So as you can see, I have one circle that's right here, and this circle is actually 2 inches. And then what I did, because I wanted it to have a center or a hole in the center, I then went ahead and did another circle, and I cut that circle at 1 3/8, or on your gypsy it'd be 1.38, and I moved that one inside so that when it would cut, I would have the hole in the center. Now you can do this also if you have the Spellbinders circle dies. You can go ahead and get your circle the same way. Or you don't have to use a Georgian Basic. You can see if any other cartridge does have a circle on it, which I'm sure they do. You can go ahead and use your gypsy and click the little magnifying glass with the Cricut down here at the bottom and just put in circle and have it searched for all the cartridges that have a circle on it. Or if you don't want to go through that, you can go to mycutsearch.com and type in circle under search, and it will bring up all the cartridges that have a circle in it. So to get my little leaves to add to the circle, I use the, okay, sorry about that everybody. I had to find out which cartridge that was and get out the handbook so I could show you from the handbook. The leaves on the reef are from the Lyrical Letters cartridge, and it is on page 72, and it looks like this. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone ahead and cut those out at 1 3/4 inches, and I just filled up my mat, knowing that I was going to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it did end up having quite a few left over, but I didn't know how they would cut, or if one of them would get broken in the process of me taking it off the mat or whatever. So I just went ahead and filled up the mat with those at 1 3/4 inches. So now the key that you're going to hit is you're going to hit your jumbo key, your shift key, and then key 35, and the leaf looks like this. So once I had them all cut out, I then went ahead and pulled them off my mat, and then I just continued to just add them around my circle and just keep adding and keep adding. Once I had them, and I used my Tombow adhesive. Actually, I'm sorry, I ran the circle through my Xyron machine so I could get it sticky enough to add each leaf. Then once I had each leaf added, I then went ahead and sprayed some of my quick adhesive on all the way around, and then I added this hologram glitter. The color is Emerald, and this is Susie Sparkle, and this is another one that I picked up several years ago. I don't even know if the company exists anymore. So once I had them all on there, I now want to go ahead and I want to add it to my scallop. But before I go ahead and put that down, I do want this to pop up, so I'm going to go ahead and put some foam squares on here so that it does pop up. I'm going to add those all the way around, and it's just little squares that I have. Okay, so now I've got them on there. And I also did spray this with that clear coating, and as you can see, the glitter doesn't come off as much when you use that. So let's go ahead and add our scallop circles. So I'm going to get some tape on the back of here, and I'm using the Tombow for that. And then I'm just going to line up my scallop circle. And then I'm going to press down. So now we are ready to add our wreath. And I just want to place it down for right now so I can see how it looks. And then I have started adding some bling along here. And I'm going to finish adding that up. But I want to go ahead and get my ribbon or my bow on. And I cut this bow, or I made this bow using my Bow Easy again. And the Bow Easy looks like this. And I do have a tutorial out there on how to use the Bow Easy. So I'm going to place my bow about right there. But before I add the bow on there, I'm going to go ahead and finish adding my little bling along there. So I'm going to add that, and then I'll be back to add the rest of the embellishments. Okay, everybody, so I'm back, and now I've got all my bling added to the wreath. Isn't she pretty? It just sparkles. I love that. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove our tape off the back of our foam squares, and then we can go ahead and add the wreath to the scallop. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm just going to press down lightly. So now I have to wait for my glue gun to heat up. So while my glue gun is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and place my little lollipops. And these are were actually buttons as well. And I picked those up at Michael's, where they have the little Christmas tree, or I'm sorry, Christmas ornaments. So I'm going to add one on each corner right here. So now I need to let my glue gun heat up, and then I'll be back to add those to the card. Okay, everybody, so now my glue gun has heated up, so let's go ahead and add our ribbon to the wreath. I'm going to get some glue on here. And then I'm going to add the ribbon right there. And then I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit, like so. And I think I've got one side longer than the other, so I'm just going to snip this real quick so I can even it out. And there we go. So now let's go ahead and add our little lollipops. And as I said before, I picked these up at Michael's, and they were buttons. And I clipped off the shank on the back, and then I used my Dremel tool to smooth the back out. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And we'll get some glue on the back of here. And then I'm just going to lay it down right there. And then we'll go ahead and add the second one. We'll get glue on the back. And then, let's see, do I want it? I think I'm going to have them going in the same direction. So I'm going to line that one up and place that one. I'm going to bring that up a little bit. And then over. Okay, that one we may have to pull up and put down again because the glue hardened before I could actually get it down. So I'm going to try that again. And just place it like so. Okay, that's it, everybody. My card is complete. And this is card number 16 of Christmas Cards with the Cricut. So now don't forget to come back because we'll be doing the last card of the series. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.